So this is the Money Pigs podcast. This is episode 12, live from Canada, New York, and I guess no, you're from New Jersey, Randy, aren't you?
Yeah,
well,
technically.
New York, because it sounds better. Live from New York.
I can see New York from my window, if that counts.
I can see Russia from my house.
Yeah, it's basically the same thing. But anyways, this is episode 12. This is a show where we talk about Dawn Gate and the community and things and events and funness and patch notes that surround it. So, kicking things off, I'm Best Dibs an A, or William, and I've got my regular two co-hosts, RL John, and Twerps of an 8, Randy.
How's it going?
Welcome back.
The classic intro. So I guess kicking things right off, we've got a new patch that came out last week, bringing the Radial ping wheel, which is, I know, something a lot of people have been asking for, and
oh, good.
I mean, it's fun. I like radial pings. I don't know how you can really argue against being able to communicate more effectively. Like, I'm all about.
There's a lot of buttons on it, though. There's 5 buttons instead of 4 in League. So
it'd be, yeah. Can you map? You can't map the pings out individually, can you? To letters, like you can't.
I don't know.
I don't think that's a feature.
I didn't try to.
I don't know how the League one works, 'cause I never use it. But in Dawn Gate, like, the default pings, like, go there and fall back, are on the radial wheel. Yeah. And then there's 3 new ones. There's, like, danger, enemy missing, and I'm going here.
So in your Prime world, you have control do the retreat, alt do the normal ping, and then you just have the 3 weird ones on the radial wheel to make it simpler to select? Because I could get with that.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Like, it's super fine. Like, I figured out where missing and where I'm going was, so, like, I don't use the one in League, but for the one in Dawn Gate, I found myself using it pretty quickly.
Okay, yeah, they've got the missing ping on there. I wasn't using it too extensively last week, because I was only on for, like, 3 or 4 games with Randy right at the end of Saturday, since it was the end of the baby cat vacation.
Oh, I didn't even know that you were playing. You should have let me know.
Let me know. No, you knew I was here. I sent you a message when I got back, didn't I?
Yeah, I don't think I got it till, like, the next day.
Classic. John leaves it up at work.
Yeah, that's what happened.
Okay, yeah, you can access it. Okay, fun. So, I don't think you can combine those pings. Hopefully, better usability will be brought to that, but I think it's pretty good. It's looking pretty, at least in its current state. I like the way the pings look.
I don't think it needs better usability. I think it's perfectly fine.
Oh, well, I don't know. Like, if the attention and retreat pings, are those really necessary? I guess it's not bad. Maybe.
It provides an option for people.
I think attention should be changed to, like, something. I think what it's intended for is, like, like something is in that bush. I mean, that's the one I would use it for. Like,
well, there's got a danger one right next to it. So
well, that's what I mean. Like, you have attention and danger. Like, I feel like if one of those could either
be
taken
like
out or changed.
This is warded ping. So like if somebody's coming, you can ping your jungler like, hey, this is warded. Avoid this. I mean, because you're not going to bring up the radial ping menu to do an attention ping. Maybe you'd bring it up to do a retreat ping, but I'm honestly, it takes longer for me to do the attention ping that way. Maybe disable it. That's my only critique of the ping wheel. But other than that, it's sexy as, and it's fun, and it's useful, so.
What I like the most about it is if you use it on the minimap, you get like this little itty bitty ping wheel like on the minimap.
No, you can use it on the minimap?
Yeah.
Oh,
you get this little like itty bitty one, like chibi wheel, and I don't know if League does it too. So I mean, maybe it's just like a ripoff. But when it happened, I was like, oh my god, that's awesome.
Somebody's bringing this up in chat. Dawn Gate does not have a timestamp, to my knowledge, unless that was added in the last patch, and that's definitely something that I would like to have.
Mm-hmm. If it's in the game, it's not on by default. So it might be buried in an option somewhere.
I've looked for it. It is not there, to my knowledge, unless it was added within the last 2 patches. I've been sort of in and out for the past 3 weeks, unfortunately. But I have been trying to keep up with it as close as I can. But some of those finer details might have slipped past me. But to my knowledge, timestamps aren't there. But it would be fun if those were there, and things like Parasite and Spirit Wells were maybe tracked. And the log and timestamp would make timing a little easier.
The new pings kind of spam the chat a little bit, right? Like when you ping with the new ones, it's like, oh, Desecrators ping here to go back and all this stuff. And like, I did find that the chat was like a little flooded with
the global voice when.
Right, Yeah. So
you thought
it shows up in chat like this guy said to do this.
I think League does the same thing, maybe. But it seems like a little excessive. It's like, like I hear the sound, I see it on my map, and then when I'm trying to go back through chat, I'm like, do I really care that 2 minutes ago somebody pinged back? The only thing you use it for is arguing in chat. Be like, I totally pinged you back. See, there it is in the chat.
I pinged missing 2 minutes ago, bro.
Exactly. That's the big thing it's used for.
You could argue otherwise for or against ping showing up in chat, so maybe just having an option to disable it would be fun.
Well, I don't know. I
think it's an all or nothing sort of situation.
I don't know. It's such a preference thing. Some people would like to see it in the chat because they watch the chat more often because they watch the chat for Mia calls or whatever. So I don't know. I just don't need it. Maybe if there isn't an option to filter it, maybe an option to filter it or something like that.
Yeah, filtering options would be fun. I guess moving down the patch notes, the biggest thing that we saw to Shapers was base move speed on range physical carries going down by 15, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah, so...
Yeah.
Where does that place them? Freya has almost 30... I mean, doesn't have, it is 30 more move speed than them. Which, it's certainly significant, and it makes people like Nissa and Lane feel much more susceptible to ganks early on.
Nissa especially now.
Even with that 15 move speed difference, it doesn't sound like much, but the mobility to be able to run back to tower is certainly hindered quite heavily.
It's especially effective early game before you get points in your W, giving you haste, and especially before you can start, getting cooldown reduction on your W spell as well. Similarly with Varian and Mikella, if there's a Desecrator route coming on you, you're much more compelled to use an ability to dash out of it rather than walk out of it, just due to the base move speed nerf.
I definitely agree with the whole thing about the early on it affecting those Shapers even more, because even before this we would always try, if we were going to gank any ranged AD in this game, we always made sure to do it before level 3 on the off chance they didn't take their dash at level 2. It would be pretty much a guaranteed kill. Now even more so if you are playing an AD now, you really have to be a lot more mindful of your situation early on, because you don't move nearly as fast anymore.
Right, and even if you're taking Blitz level 1, just to segue quickly into the change on Blitz, you're only getting a 2-second duration as opposed to a 4-second duration, and that's when you're on range. You're still getting 4 on melee, so even taking Blitz early, 2 seconds is probably going to get you out of most situations, but if you are pushed all the way up to their tower, you're maybe going to make it halfway back up the lane, and you're not going to make it all the way to your tower with CC immunity, so I think that's a good change as well, because I think, I guess 2 weeks ago at this point, we saw people almost exclusively taking Blitz at level 1 and taking Blitz all the time on physical range carries just because of how good it was. So that 4-second to 2-second change also hinders them even further. So I think good changes are being made to physical range carries where they're not feeling so strong throughout the entire game, and it does give you more opportunities to shut them down in lane and in early team fights.
That is a very good point, because I was a little concerned there for a couple weeks. I'm like, so is this game going to turn into, let's see whose ranged AD is better? Because it was kind of... It kind of felt like it was going that way, especially with Blitz being 4 seconds, because come late game, Varian could just stand there with Blitz on and just auto-attack freely without any fear, because number one, you couldn't burst him down fast enough to kill him before his Blitz would go down, and without any sort of stun or CC to lock them down, you would just get absolutely melted. So all of these kind of, a little nerf here, a little nerf here, it might bring everything back towards the middle, and so ranged ADs aren't just wait for my AD to get fed and win the game.
Well, I mean, that's sort of the thing, right? Everything that a melee carry can do, a range carry can basically do better, right? When you give a spell that grants 4 seconds of CC immunity, the range carry is going to get more use out of it. I mean, just for the sheer fact that you have ranged abilities. So I think it's good that they're sort of acknowledging the fact that, things need to be tuned just a little differently to make up for the fact that you are using ranged abilities.
I guess also I was still on that same topic of melee carries versus physical range carries. I see someone in chat talking about Freya and Kindra getting a nerf, and sort of my thoughts on Freya and Kindra is they're high risk, high reward shapers. So if someone like Kendra doesn't get her kills in earlier mid game, she's going to be completely useless in the late game. Same thing goes for Freya. In the jungle, she doesn't have the strongest ganks pre-6. Even still, sometimes you can fear people away from you. You can't get a whole bunch of your abilities off. Freya doesn't have reset. So both of them have their trade-offs where it makes it a high risk to get into the situation and to pick up your kills and to get out. Where you see Kendra doesn't have the highest damage early in the game and really requires a lot of coordination from 2 other teammates in that early game to give her enough damage. Or someone like Freya, who does have the damage but necessarily like can't get all the way and doesn't have a reset to get out afterwards. So maybe she gets a kill and dies afterwards. So there's always a trade-off to those. But I think they're in a pretty good place, and especially with this change to Blitz, it's going to make Freya feel a little more viable as a hard melee carry to something like a physical range carry who does it at a distance. So giving that difference between a physical range carry and a melee carry, hopefully that starts to evolve a little more, and Freya will continue to feel more viable than them. And she does feel snowbally to an extent if, you know, you're doing some sort of cheese combo like a Dibs Freya level 2 insta-gib.
Oh, man.
I mean, it's cute, but as players get more used to those cheeses, you'll play better against them, and as matchmaking improves, you won't have somebody who's just exclusively feeding Freya and Kendra, getting them to that point too quickly. So as matchmaking sorts out and the quality of matchmaking games gets better, I think you're going to find that Freya and Kendra are already tuned pretty close to where they need to be.
Well, I think Kendra's in a more interesting spot than Freya, because Freya can certainly be shut down early. Kendra, because you're often going Predator, is going to be able to catch up a lot faster. But, I mean, both of them have really incredible late games, so I'm sort of okay with being able to shut down Freya, but I'm not so sure about Kendra.
I wouldn't argue that Kendra has incredible late game, though. Kendra has pretty hard fall off past the 30-minute mark.
Sure, Freya's late game is much better.
Freya's late game is significantly better than Kendra's, but Kendra's
purely by the numbers, Freya's late game is very good. But it's also very, very hard to pull off, right? I mean, you're doing an incredibly high amount of damage because you have melee 80 carry scaling. But, I mean, she's very, very, very easy to step in the wrong position and just get absolutely obliterated. So, it's all going to come down to the win rates, really. Which we're unfortunately not privy to.
We have no idea what the win rates are, but obviously Waystone is taking a good look at those and balancing around that. So as matchmaking sorts out, we're going to get better tuning, and the game's going to continue to feel better and better as the weeks go on. At least that's been my experience so far, as each patch has felt better than the next, or even if it has made a step backwards, it's to do something to get it set up for something in the future. So it was necessary, sort of like the Welo Cup reset. It was necessary to support further features, which is acceptable since they did it so early in the beta.
I'd
just responding to the thing about ward jumping, I don't know if I want ward jumping in this game.
I do.
But see, my problem with it is I don't want people hanging onto their ward just to do like the cool ward jump trick. Like, it's fine in League because you're buying wards, and if you want to buy wards, like, whatever, I'm not going to argue with you. But like, I'm also kind of dependent on your ward now because I can't buy one to replace yours. You know what I mean? And like, no other real MOBA has the ward jumping mechanic. I think, like, why not just let that be League's thing? I don't know. That's just me. Like, wards aren't targetable right now, kind of like for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they don't want anyone to be denied their
wards. Would you be interested in a spell which has, say, a 60 to 90 second cooldown, which drops like a target dummy and like a range around you that provides a small amount of vision that you can jump to?
That would be. I would be much more for that.
I think
than
it's.
ward jumping.
I would go further than that. I would make it like a totem that you cast that like does physical damage or something. It can't
like
just
like a rally sort of thing, like giving
like rally
attack speed. Sort
it needs to have a secondary purpose, because just giving it a ward jump purpose would mean that it would only be good on 2 shapers. But it would be really cool if it's like, oh, it's this cool thing that you use, and if you happen to be playing one of those 2 shapers, you get like a really extra bonus on it. That'd be cool.
The extra bonus. I mean, that sounds like a better solution to me than giving ward jump. I do think it's fun to place things over the wall and fly after it, and it does help when chasing people who have wall jumps. so you don't have to use something like Flash. Like, obviously Moya and Kel and Petrus sometimes can go over walls, so being able to jump over things like that.
Petrus sometimes.
Petrus sometimes.
I hate that jump range.
If that's my...
It's a little short.
I've started to accept the Petrus jump range as acceptable in lane. Just due to the AoE, I didn't realize that, you know, like 275 plus 450 adds up to whatever, 600 something, and makes it a little better than I had thought. And just seeing Petrus get buffed, he feels a little more viable in lane now. But the issue with his range is there's some thick walls that, like, sometimes you jump over it, sometimes you have to, like... Randy,
you gotta
please.
really try.
Like, you have to, like, really, like, inch your character into it and then jump over it, so...
I like the dynamics of, like, certain parts of the map are jumped over by, like, all the shapers with high mobility. Certain ones, like, are really fat. I mean, with the Flash nerfs in League, you saw that a little bit, especially near, like, the bottom lane. Like, there's fatter sections of the map that are, like, really difficult to flash over. And I like upping the difficulty and just sort of changing the dynamics just by having tight or fat parts of the map.
So you like having Petrus have difficult jumps, whereas Kel has easier jumps?
I don't know if I like them being more difficult. What I would prefer.
You would like is evenly difficult for.
I would like evenly difficult. Some that are just Kel can go here and Petrus can't, but as long as they're clearly defined, as like this is a long gap, this is a short gap, I'd be pretty much okay with that. And sort of just quickly back to the ward jumping. There's a lot of times where I'll ward a brush just because I need to ward that to get a kill because my wards come up. So I'm not like I kind of wish there was a way I could get that ward back, and if I could like ward jump and get that ward back too, I wouldn't be super upset about it.
I mean, that's another thing I've thought about is being able to pay money to reset your ward. I think we've talked about that briefly. I don't know. There's a lot of things you can do. Obviously, they are thinking of other warding solutions, so...
I mean, that's a big design decision that, like, I
additional wards and counter warding, that's certainly... I mean, we've been talking about counter warding. They've been talking about counter warding since pretty much the creation of the game. Like, week 1, people were like, we want to be able to counter ward, and, like, their stance has always been, you know, we want to do it appropriately and correctly the first time, so...
But how?
Yeah, I think that's the best case for the game.
Right now, it's not in a terrible position that we don't have it, and obviously when it is implemented, or if it's implemented, it's going to be done correctly on the first try.
Well, it doesn't have to be. They're allowed to make mistakes.
They can also play around with a number of things, but hopefully it's done just beautifully, and it blows all of our minds, and we're like, this is the counter solution that we've all wanted our whole lives.
You always want to do it right. You always want to do it right the first time. But I mean, in a closed beta environment, that's certainly the time to experiment with things. Like I know from their stream, they've talked about stuff that they're like, oh, we've tried dozens of map iterations, and this is the one that stuck. Like it would be neat if just once they'd be like, we'd like to try this. We don't know if it's going to stay in the game. We don't know if it's going to go away. But like we're going to try it. We're going to see how the public feels, because we often hear about the stuff that they, you know, secondhand. Oh, we've tried stuff like this, but we haven't actually got to see it. So it'd be neat.
Right. Just another thing I wanted to talk about briefly is I've sort of felt Kel feeling more and more prevalent each week as people get more comfortable with him and learning, you know, sort of tricks to him. And
come on, sheep.
Yeah, sheep toss is certainly something that I feel might need to be tuned a little bit. I was just wondering what your guys thought. In the capacity that you can, the range is 950, almost 1,000, and you can also tap Q really fast. I've even heard of people using macros to have it, where it has a 0.1 second delay in the time that you can cast your sheep and that you can roll to it. Check 1 2, Randy.
Hello.
I think we lost John.
Aww.
What are your thoughts on the sheep?
I mean, we were talking about this earlier today. It's just they've everyone with that crazy kind of mobility, like Varian and Moya, they've all kind of been hit week after week, and I'm just kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop and for Kel to finally get his, because 950, it's just, I mean, that gives him such an advantage over every other shaper in the game. Like, no one comes close to that level. Like, Moya used to, just because it was so quick. But since her nerfs and Varian's gate being shrunk down to like mini size, like Kel, like he just sheeps for days, dude. Like that's, I don't know. I think it needs to come down by like 200, and it'll still be really good, but it'll keep it a little bit more in line with, you know, the other champions with shapers with high mobility.
Right, that's sort of my thing. The other weird part is that you can cast it instantly, like just double tapping Q and you ride on top of the sheep pretty much. Where there's no delay in you having to stand still to wait for your sheep to go out to jump to it. So I don't know what would be ideal there, but the sheep just feels so incredibly effective at ganking. You know, getting to the back line, like he can really.
He's the best ganker pre-level 6.
He's also the best at sticking in team fights, because even with Varian's Gate, even if he's not at point blank on top of Varian when he blinks, he can still cover that distance. Oh my, Randy, you've been split across 2 screens.
What?
On the podcast.
Oh, now I see it.
Yeah, that's fun.
All right. Left eye, right eye. Left eye, right eye. Camera 1, camera 2. Camera 1, camera 2.
Well, baby cat. Let me readjust your region.
What happened to John?
I'm not sure.
Canada.
Alright, there you go. You're mostly in there.
Hey.
Well, this was fun. Hopefully John rejoins soon.
Yeah. Yeah, Kel is he's really strong right now. I mean, they did kind of give him a secondary, I don't even know how, like a second hand kind of nerf with the haste nerf, but that was like all tanks. They get that, the diminishing returns on CDR a little bit. The
slight haste nerf. I don't think it was too significant, though. I think that some of them are just getting CDR a little too quickly, so...
Well, but a lot of the really good tank items have haste in them, like
rebirth, creation.
And rebirth and subjugation, and I don't know. I'm sure there's more that I'm not thinking of right now, but pretty much every tank gets haste at some point. So it wasn't like you didn't have to build a whole lot of haste to get a lot of the rewards for it, and I think it's better now the way that they have it.
We have word from Amber that they're trying to fix John's internet currently, so John should be back
there's
soon.
mooses everywhere.
All right. Well, since me and you are the biggest fans of it, it's time for the Predator discussion.
Oh, yay! I am so happy. I mean, it's not Predator circa July 2013, but it is a vast improvement over that horrible second-rate substitute we got last week that had Predator's placeholder icon, because that was not Predator.
That was not Predator.
That was some malarkey. This week, it felt a lot more better to play Predator.
It's
like
even
having
more.
That bonus from assists
it's more of a buff than I thought it was going to be, because I know we talked about it, I guess, last week when they first changed it, and I was saying that I'd like to see assists come up to 60 or 75, and then they surprised me and made it 80, and I was like, this is beautiful.
And they changed the way Spirit Wells and Workers kind of work, so you don't get
silly money.
Yeah, well, regular people don't get silly money for just killing Workers anymore. Like your jungler with Hunter doesn't get anything special for just killing Workers now. So it's even more of a bonus for the Predator to do it. Like I think the last game I played over the weekend, I was on Kindra, and I wasn't doing that great. I didn't have a whole lot of kills, but I was able to fully farm 3 wells, and I ended up with second most, third most gold in the game. And I really didn't, have that great of a game. So I was like, all right, Predator feels more in a much better place than it was.
Right, because I think we even compared your gold at the end of the game to someone who had just as many kills and assists as you, and even they had 50 more CS. They even had you had 4. Your kills and assists were swapped by 4. You had 7 kills and 11 assists, and they had 11 kills and 7 assists. Mm-hmm. They were up 40 CS, but even still, you're up 1k gold on them, and that was mostly from Predator gold and harassing the Spirit Wells, and the lane creeps weren't much of a factor. So Predator's gold feels more finely tuned, where you can even keep up with people getting more farm. Where you're missing out on gold, it now feels balanced, where it's really close within a 1k difference. So
yeah, and I laned with a gladiator that game too, if I'm not mistaken. And I mean, we've talked about this. I hate laning with gladiators because I'm always afraid I'm going to mess up the CS chain. So the fact that I was able to get that kind of gold while not while not having to farm any lane creeps and mess up his jam felt really good.
Call's a little messed up here for a second. We're trying to add John back in. Paging John, paging John. But yeah, Predator feels really good. I'm excited to play with it this next week and hopefully get like a whole just 30 hours of testing in next week to really formulate my current opinions on the state of the game, state of the gate. But I'm liking where Predator is right now. Like if this is what Predator is in relation to the other roles, it feels pretty good.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like I have to take Tactician anymore.
So I guess a big question we've been hearing all the last weekend was like, what's up with Resonance? Like, is this worth taking anymore? I didn't get to test it efficiently. Did you see anybody's opinions on Resonance?
I mean, I never took it as a laner.
Right, because you never play physical range carry, which you benefit from it the greatest.
But I mean, I would still get it in the jungle. I used to pick up whenever I jungled, I would take Resonance, and I still did that. I think I jungled one game over the weekend, but I think it's exactly. Yeah, the nerf was for the ADC, not for jungle. So I mean, if you want to jungle, feel free to keep taking Resonance, but I don't know about ADC. I don't know well enough. Maybe someone in chat who plays AD like a boss could help us out what they thought, but
I think it's still good, but it's not it doesn't apply off of Fate either as well. Is that the change that they made?
Well, Fate now it doesn't. It applies on hit on the person who like gets hit or like inevitability won't proc 4 times anymore.
Inevitability does not propagate.
Because I don't remember.
No, it now specifies which ones.
Which ones do and which ones don't. I don't remember
if
inevitability was
inevitability
one.
still
Ruin
doesn't. Ruin doesn't.
One of those two doesn't anymore.
I definitely know that Moya doesn't. And Resonance doesn't anymore.
No, Moya's does now. That was a change.
Oh my.
Like her shock or
yep, you're right. Well, now apply to all targets. The slow now applies the healing.
But like the stun won't apply to all the targets.
That's amazing.
But
right.
The slow
well, the stun does if you activate it and then go through a line of people.
Well, yeah, you'd have to hit him with the dash. What I'm saying is you won't get the stun proc off the Fate bounce.
But there's no stun proc.
I know, but it gives you the slow proc. But I'm just saying, like, if I turn it on
if there was
the stun
proc, sure.
You think it'll just because it went instead? Because you don't get the slow and the stun when you dash through them, do you? You just get the stun. I wonder if
they have an item passive like tenacity currently. What item is that?
It's one of the.
Is it stability?
Stability or momentum? One of those.
Momentum reduces the disabling effects by 40%, and stability reduces them by 40% and reduces move speed by 35%. John is saying hi, hello. Hi, hello, John.
Hi.
Oh, you're on the call, but we don't see you.
Well, we'll figure it out. My computer exploded.
John's back, everyone.
It wouldn't be a Money Pigs podcast without technical difficulties.
My computer's doing great. I've dropped no frames so far.
Yeah, momentum's an item. It's like a tier 3, like tank haste item.
I think it builds out of will, if I remember correctly.
Aha. Yeah, in Dawngate, all of the items are upgradable. You have like 5 base items, and you upgrade them all into like higher tiered versions of those items with specialized abilities.
Yeah, we have an item shop simulator on our website, and you can check it out there. We've got the whole item list below it, what they build out of, what they build into. You can control find for different stats, or of course you've got the simulator up above it, so hopefully that helps out. Organic trying to pimp somebody else's store.
Nope. Our store's the
Delete
best.
that. Wrong link.
The Gamepedia one isn't terrible.
My mouse, I unplugged it by accident instead of my webcam, so I have no mouse now. It's the worst day of my life. Anyway, where do we leave off?
We've continued on. We talked about Kelebit, we talked about Predator, talked about Resonance briefly. I still think Resonance is good, but it's not like Rape Everyone's Face and Synergize with Fate really well good. So I think Resonance is in a good place now.
Yep.
Yeah, Resonance has a niche role of helping you last hit. If you just barely miss, it'll give you a helping hand, which is always good.
So kill death streak resets. That's pretty much the last thing I wanted to talk about. In terms of the patch notes. And basically the change with it is now people who... So if you're like -4 in the hole on your kill death streak or whatever, if you get an assist it resets it to like -3, then -2. But if you get a kill it resets it entirely. What were your guys' thoughts on that?
So the change now with the assists is it resets it back by 1, correct?
Correct.
Right. I mean that makes sense. I mean your assists need to be credited not as highly as a kill, but still, help. So it seems like a logical place for it to be.
So do you think there's any concern for supports trying to make themselves as worthless as possible, or do you think that a support that isn't dying and by getting assists will maintain them not getting reset entirely, or what?
The assists will help, so no, I don't think there's a risk of that. You can't be useful and then also not get assists. Well, I mean, I'm sure you could, but
it would be a little more difficult.
It would be an interesting way of like going out of your way to stop contributing to fights. I mean, it's much more important to be getting kills, especially with the type map. The kills transition very quickly into map objectives, so I don't think there's a risk of people trying to game the system in any way.
I think it's a good place, because obviously people that are feeding really hard, it's going to prevent them from, like, if they get a kill, suddenly being worth a lot of money, because it would be a lot of, griefing if they could just get involved in one assist and then be reset entirely and then proceed to keep feeding again. So I think it shuts down sort of that trolling grief strategy, but it doesn't affect the actual game or gameplay itself. So
I don't remember what the max kill streak bonus is, but I assume it's something close to 5.
I think it's 4 on either end.
4. Okay, so right. So if you participate, if you're 0-8 and you participate in a team fight where you guys get an ace and you've got an assist on every kill, you're now worth full gold. I mean, it makes sense to me.
It does. I don't really think it's a huge change, but I think it's a good one.
I mean, it just seems like a sort of a weird, like, if that's the way it used to work, where an assist would fully reset you, I mean, that just seems bad. It just seems like it punishes people already for being behind, right? Like, you're 0-5, you get an assist, and you're worth full gold again. It's the same type of nerf of the Predator nerf, where you could be 0-6 and people would get 400 gold for 4 Predator kills, right? I mean, it's all in the name of eliminating snowballing and helping you come back.
Yeah, which are always good changes. So I guess we've got matchmaking and new players, or is it fixed? Still an issue? What's your guys' experience with matchmaking this last week?
I didn't have a problem with it. I mean, but I never feel like I have a problem with matchmaking, and besides like really long queues. So I don't know, and I don't really solo queue in this game too often. So
that's the thing. The state of solo queue is in a really, really weird spot, because the population is small but constantly growing with all these like 200 use keys and random keys, that there is a really reasonably steady stream of new players coming into the game, but not enough so that there's like a newbie island where it's like full newbies. So what's happening is you get like 1 or 2 newbies like per game. And a lot of my games this weekend, there's like 9 experienced players and 1 guy's first game. So it was like most of my games were like 8 minutes long. Like someone would get killed and die and then leave the game, and it happened a lot this weekend. So it's an awkward spot.
Yeah, with lots of 100 multi-use keys going out every week, there are a lot of new players, and a lot of those new players have friends that have more games, so the matchmaking is a bit skewed in terms of there's some good players and they're playing with newbie players. Obviously there's people that have lots of games played and lots of wins, and they're sort of 5 queuing and getting matched up against other 5 queues, because currently it is pretty difficult to lose as a 5Q unless you're up against another 5Q. And that has nothing. I don't know.
It's a weird problem to have, and I think that problem will start to go away when we see larger beta windows and a larger population.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest problem is just the population of players. Like, once it gets bigger and bigger...
Well, yeah, once it's bigger and it's up 24/7, more people will play and it will settle. It's just, we're going to be in a bit of an awkward period right now. And just to address chat, somebody said I don't think Dawngate should have ranked yet. And this isn't ranked, it's just normal matchmaking. So
this is like playing blind pick in League.
It's like playing blind pick. Even blind pick in League, you have a hidden MMR, and this is the exact same thing. This is just matchmaking. This is to auto-generate your games for you, so we don't have to have custom lobbies where people are saying, I'm novice, I'm intermediate, have 10 games played, have 15 wins, that sort of thing. It's supposed to do it automatically for you. It's just a bit of an awkward place right now.
Well, the thing really is like in League of Legends, when you first start the game, you need to play like 300 games or whatever it is to get into rank 30. And once you're rank 30, you start doing ranked. But even blind pick, right? When you're level 30, like when was the last time you ever got queued with like a level 20 guy, right? Like never.
Right, or even like a level 5.
Right, but you got situations right now where, like, I mean, I would say I've got to be pretty close to an average playtime player because I work all day Friday and then I play on and off on Saturday, right? So I think I played like 30, 40 games total since the reset, and I'm still getting matched with like brand new players. So there's no cutoff. Sure, but what a lot of times is because I'll play with one person, like I'll do a lot of duo queue. So what'll happen is we'll get queued up into a group of 5 players, and 1 or 2 people on my team will be brand new, and they die, they lose, they leave the game. It ends at 8 minutes. So I'm like, okay, I'm getting a little frustrated. So I just started queuing up with 5 people, and then you win every game in the opposite amount. Like you win the game in 8 minutes, and you're like, well, I'm getting a little bored now. I didn't get a lot of really close good games this weekend, like whereas the weekend before I was like, lots of good games. So I think it's just a bad weekend. But I mean, unfortunately, I'm not sure if there's a fix other than hope for good games, or maybe just keep queuing with 5 friends and get much higher.
Yeah, you can try and just like queue with 4 other people and increase your elo. Just to address chat, is there going to be a level system? I'm going to assume you're talking about out-of-game progression, and they have said that they're working on that right now, and it's apparently going to be life-changing. So
life-changing.
We don't know what the maximum level or any of that stuff is.
None of that. They haven't talked about out-of-game progression other than they want to do it, and they certainly are working on it and exploring different possibilities. So hopefully we'll see that soon.
Yeah, I mean, like, when I do get the good games, I feel so good. I love the back and forth games of Dawngate. Like, they're so much better than any other MOBA experience I've had is close Dawngate games. I just want more of them, Like maybe we should do tournaments or something, but like I'm your average queue with 1 friend type player, and the experience isn't quite there for me yet.
Cup hunting.
Yeah, really, the best way right now is to just queue with 5 people, and if you do that,
if you wanna win games, right? So, I'd honestly like to see a 5Q and a solo and a duo. I just don't know if the player size exists right now.
I doubt it, because they haven't done any big giveaways in a while with Andy being gone and Dave being gone. Like, you haven't seen the like the RTS Guru style, like those big 5,000
giveaways, right?
What you're seeing is 200 key giveaways like 3 times a week, and like, so I don't know how many keys they're giving away through email, but sort of in the public space, it's not really a lot. So like that's why I'm just in this weird spot with like a steady trickle of new players. Whereas like if there's a large influx, like RTS Guru key comes out and there's 5,000 new keys, like all those new players are going to get queued together. But as is right now, like 4 minutes goes by and the solo queue players get matched up with a new player, and like I honestly feel a lot worse for the new player than for me. Like I'm like, oh, look at me in the beta having 8-minute games where I either win or lose, whatever. But like somebody brand new coming in and they get stomped in 8 minutes because they've died 6 times, like those people are going to get shied away from the game. So
Well, those people haven't played MOBAs, because if you're one of the type of people who just comes in, plays a MOBA one time and gets stopped, and like, well, I'm never playing this again. Like, you're gonna have a bad time in this genre, so you're better off just not playing then.
Well, it is a valid concern. I remember back in the height of WoW's popularity, either like, most people that play the game quit within like the first 5 levels. So I have to imagine there's some sort of like crossover into the MOBA scene where most people quit your MOBA within the first 5 games. So, like, I don't know how high up improving like new player experience is on their list, but like I just don't know if it's there yet. I mean, closed beta, right? I mean,
yeah, I mean it's
one of those criticisms that you would put forward on a game that's been out for like a full year, and so it's a weird thing to complain about, and I'll stop complaining. But it's just the game feels so good and so polished that like I lose myself, right? I feel like I'm in a game that's been out for a year, and I'm like, well, why am I not getting close matches? So,
right.
I mean, maybe it's a bit of a non complaint, but I don't know. My thoughts.
Why is your camera still down, John?
My computer is I can't use my keyboard, my mouse, or my webcam right now. So.
How did you even get onto the Skypes?
Don't ask.
Secrets.
I can bail out and try again, if you want.
No. I think it's fine. What is this articles soon, TM, you've got listed here?
Oh yeah. Gonna be talking about lane synergy, and how to pick a lane that's going to succeed. It's in my opinion the most interesting part of the game is the way that you can mix together predators, gladiators, tacticians of different archetypes, right? Tanks, ranged DPS, melee DPS, and just simply by their design, there's certain combinations they're going to rise sort of to the top. So be talking really in depth with why certain lane combos work out, and like sort of your go-to style picks, especially for a dual queue style player. So there's some articles about that coming soon, TM. This week.
TM. Who's writing said articles? Are you writing them? You have a secret writer? You're the secret writer?
No. I wish I had a secret writer. Every secret writer that comes in and comes to us and offers to write disappears into the wind. So if you are a secret writer and you want to be a secret writer, MOBA Champion at gmail.com.
MOBA Champion, no hyphen?
No hyphen.
No hyphen.
Just click on the contact page on the website.
Aha, a contact page. But yeah, MOBA Champion at gmail.com if you want to contact about writing articles and stuff. We're working on getting an article section out soon.
Right. Now, I will say that these are mostly going to focus on more advanced, like, not advanced, but it's not going to have a basic skew. It's going to be more for the players that sort of already know what's going on. So, like, that
intermediate
style.
level,
Right, I can't spend half the article explaining what a Nissa is in order to explain why the Nissa Dibs combo is so amazing. Stuff like that.
Yeah, let's get to the meat of the article so people can read it and I'll just say it's terrible.
Right, yeah, but you can't downvote me on my own site. So.
No, you can't.
I guess you can.
You should implement it.
Soon, TM.
The exclusive downvote John feature.
That ties into another feature we'll talk about next week on the site. It's going to be sweet, though.
On the
Stay
site.
tuned.
On a scale of 1 to gauge interest, where are we?
Sure.
So we do have plans for releasing a tournament tool and tournaments ourselves, and sort of wanted to gauge interest in terms of what the community thought about doing 1v1 or 2v2, since we don't have spectating right now, and we'd like to cast the games and bring in some community involvement and sort of have things that people can watch and get involved with, since the test windows are getting pretty long, that some people do like to take a break and eat some food and watch some games. We were certainly not thinking of doing a best blank NA tournament because we think it'd be really intimidating. We've thought about it, but like if we say, best Kendra, there's not enough
There's no reason for it. There's only 15. Well, how many is it? 15 or 16 now?
16.
16 shapers? Like, we really need to figure out. Come on.
So
I think that's a little corny.
I really like that format.
I like it.
Someone else I was talking to wanted to do one, but I think you're right. I think it would be too narrow. Like only getting Freya mains or something would be a hard tournament to fill up.
So yeah, we were just thinking, obviously this next week we might test some 1v1, 2v2 stuff, see if it, feels fun, that something people might be interested in watching, and if there needs to be 1 or 2 bans, and what sort of tournament system we need to create for that to have on the site. But that's certainly something that we're thinking about. If spectating gets added to the game, then
you can't.
Then there might be 5v5 tournaments, so it's all sort of reliant on what features are added to the game.
Well, I think what you're trying to say is that you're more looking at a presentation style thing, right? Like you want the tournament to be watched rather than played, I think is what you're saying.
Watched and played. I want people that
obviously people have to play, right? But I mean, the watching is a big part of that.
Right, because obviously what are people going to enjoy watching? It's going to feel fast-paced and intense and enjoyable. So
the fact that there is no spectator mode, it's like we're trying to find a workaround
for
that.
So it'll be like the best fluff tournament, NA, where we do like 2v2 or something silly, and obviously that will never be an actual competitively played format, but it might be a fun thing to do one weekend to take a little break from the 5v5 solo queue grind. I refuse to say Magma Chamber took 4 years. Even though the Magma Chamber map that Riot is putting out is really cool, it's not it's not my 5v5 Magma Chamber.
Yeah,
it's supposed to be like
66.
teleporter pads and stuff like that on it, and
I think they realized very intelligently that you don't need to split your community into like 10 different queues. And it's funny, I'm already seeing like Infinite Crisis has like 3 maps now. It's like people don't need like 10 maps to queue up for. They need a really, 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 really good experience on one. That's why I like what League does with their fluff maps. Like ARAM, it's just like an entirely different mode of play, but it's almost completely for silly, right? Like nobody's a serious ARAM player, and nobody's going to be a serious Magma Chamber player. Oh, maybe, but like
maybe.
Twisted Treeline and Dominion are like so unpopular,
Dominion's a joke.
Right? And just being like the B tier gameplay mode, it does nothing but like segregate your community.
It doesn't feel good, and they feel underappreciated. So,
well, that's why fun maps are in terms like this, would be a good alternative, right? I mean, you don't need a second Dongate 5v5 map, but a 1v1 map, that'd be neat. I'd play it. Mid 3 years from now, probably.
I think a 2v2 tournament would be interesting just for the lulz.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's really up to you guys, but I would like to see either 1v1 or 2v2. I just want to see a good spectator experience, right? Like those grassroots style tournaments in League are always fun to watch. So I'm excited for whatever you guys are putting together.
Yeah, obviously you have to put together the tournament portion on the site first. Again, gauging interest. So if
All right.
If you guys, I mean, yeah, we'll talk about this.
Write me up a design document, bro.
Design document dot
.jpg. Yeah. Should be cool.
Right, so that's something we're working on. If you guys have any ideas for how you'd like to see that tournament go, what you'd like to watch, you can tweet it at any of our names below, or PM us on the subreddit, or on the MOBA Champion website, or wherever. You can email John, the MOBA Champion at gmail.com, and sort of give us your opinions on that, or even type them right here on the side right now. So we are Facebookless. We have none of the Facebooks, to my knowledge.
Facebook. Social media is so hard.
Social media is so hard. We
barely have a Twitter.
I know.
Our Twitter presence is always lacking.
The thing about Facebook, it's like I'm not going to use it, so it would be such a chore. It'd be like, okay, I gotta make our Facebook page and talk to people on Facebook. Ain't nobody got time.
I mean, they don't really care at this point. No.
We'll have one eventually.
Maybe down the road, but no.
We have our social media staff who manages all of our Facebooks and Twitters for us. The dream.
We need interns for that.
That's definitely like, I mean, it's one of the things. So actually like accused me of in IRC the other day. It's like, oh, this RL John guy is just jumping on the game trying to like get way ahead of the gun or whatever you call that phrase. But like stuff like Facebook and stuff is so down the road and like not irrelevant to me. It's just I don't have time for that. Like this is a site we work on like a few hours a week. So eventually when the game gets closer to open beta, I'll be looking to expand.
Reach out on more platforms.
I mean, it's like, what are we going to tell you? It's like, hey, guys, we're playing Dawngate. It's like, well, yeah, so are we, because it's only up 2 days a week.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? What are you going to update people on?
Like I mean, like...
We're all doing the same shit.
The rough part is, like, I don't even play other games in the middle of the week now. I just,
I am.
You're Final Fantasy, but, like, MOBAs, I don't play League, I don't play Dota, I don't play Infinite Crisis, like, I don't play any of that. So, like, I come in and I try and play a skill shot champion like Amaranth or Dibs, and just my first game, I proceed to miss everything. And it's so rough. It's like, Randy, please let me ride on the shoulders of your glorious Cerulean.
That's why I just play Cerulean. And I still do that, too. I flip lane creeps every game. I'll flip a lane creep just for fun.
You gotta intimidate them. I mean, that's
what it is. You're like, see, I could have flipped you, but I'm bad and I missed. So don't make that same mistake again.
That
I might not make the same mistake again. Yeah.
I've actually enjoyed taking it, like, not casually, but like a little sillily. Like, I'll let kills get away and like spam recall, like, and I'm like, you know that I would have got you there, but you're safe. You live to fight another day.
Yeah.
So I've been having a lot of fun with stuff like that, especially with like what I was talking about earlier. Like a lot of the games end pretty soon, so I like sort of being silly for the remainder. I mean, we are here to test the game, so taking it ultra competitively. When solo queue comes out, when ranked ladder comes out, don't get me wrong, I'll be like
nothing but serious business. But these last few weeks, it's been like duo queue, trio queue. I lose a game, I win a game. It's just like, let's like play Dibs and silliness or something. Like, it's not full serious business. And again, like if you get matched in a game and somebody's like, hey, this is my first game, how do I play? Like, just be sure not to rage on them and make them feel included in the community and welcome them in, because obviously the game's not going to get better until the player base gets better and the game gets bigger. So just try and encourage those people as best as you can. And even if you do have to rage, keep it out of the game.
Try to be extra nice. I tried to give advice this week, and like people were yelling at me. So like even advice is hard to give. I'm like, just stick to the jungle. You're a little behind. When you come into lane to gank, you're kind of just dying, and they're like,
shut up, bro.
You. Exactly.
Don't tell me how to play.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, you shouldn't have brought up the dying part. That might have disgruntled them a bit. In regards to somebody, people saying the server might be up Wednesday, the server might be up any day. Sometimes, like Dave or Zalgus, like they just like to troll us, and it's like random beta test in 5 minutes. We're throwing the servers up for 3 hours, and we haven't seen those in a couple of weeks. But again, we've had Zwill, Andy, and Dave off in, I guess, Germany or something like that.
Yeah, they're at Gamescom.
Yeah, are they still out there in Europe land, or?
No, I saw Dave tweeted that he's like home or on his way home, something like that. Yeah.
Okay, so maybe they'll come back like filled with good beer and want to surprise us with delicious servers. But they're going to PAX. That's right. PAX is in like
That's true.
3 days.
Next week, yeah.
It's like 3 days.
Really?
Yeah, PAX Prime.
I'm really, really, really excited for the league tournament. I don't play League anymore, but I watch it a lot.
When does World start? Is that
October or September?
No, October is when the finals are, but they're playing matches all through September or something. I don't know. Esports.
Yeah. Oh, did you? I'm looking over at Amber's computer. I have a cam exploded. I don't like it. Good stuff. Very nice. Stylistic. I'm actually walking around my room now with my 30-foot headphone cable, pacing.
That's the dream.
Oh, that is nice. I'm a pacer too. When I have to sit in one, but if you notice, I move more than anyone else on this show. I'm constantly like swiveling in my chair because,
yeah.
Right.
Did we hit everything on the show notes? I can't open the show notes.
We hit pretty much everything. So, I guess just in terms of starting like the hype train, this is what, the 3rd week now, and there's no new shapers. So maybe tomorrow or Wednesday we'll start seeing the lore reveal for something new.
I think there's 100% chance of seeing something within the next...
199.
You think this week we're going to have a new shaper?
I think we're going to see it tomorrow. And I have absolutely no factual basis on that, but I think they will.
Probably.
I mean...
Right? Is that how they've been doing it? 2 weeks?
I think it's every 3 weeks.
It's like
every
3
weeks since the first one, I think it's been.
This is like tomorrow they're gonna reveal a silhouette and
That
everyone's
was just week 2 of Reyna we just had last week,
there's
right?
gonna be like some silhouette and like a hot story down below.
Yeah, it's gonna
They
be
they like
It's
to
gonna
be
give me,
coy.
like the
They're
hot and flustered BDNA.
if you ask Pluto or Zyro, they'll be like, we have no cadence for release, but that's bullshit. It's coming out tomorrow. You know it. You know it. I know it. No, I hope it does.
Everybody knows it, so don't try to hide it.
I'm actually a little nervous that it won't come out tomorrow because they were at Gamescom, so I'm actually a little nervous. I'm mostly trying to will it into existence by saying, yeah, it's coming. But who knows?
If we all chanted and do the new Shaper dance outside, perhaps the Waystone God shall smile upon us.
What
It
do you
makes
think it's
sense,
gonna
though.
be? If there is a new
If
shaper.
there is, I
Yes.
think...
You think like a burst
Ooh.
caster?
Well, things that could be released that would just like get me hot and flustered. Like if
What would get you hot and flustered?
like if it's not a new shaper, if they were like player profiles, that would get me hot and
Ooh.
flustered. If they were like loadout, custom loadouts,
Customizable loadouts, or
that-
even new loadouts.
new
We have the
loadouts-
same loadouts
new static
every
loadouts or
week.
customizable loadouts, that would get me hot and flustered.
I want a Blitzcrank hook.
Yeah, that's
Hooks,
the dream right there.
hooks are the dream.
Teleports are also very nice. I love
Teleports are fun.
I mean, from a realistic standpoint, we're probably going to see another assassin or a mage or a
No,
melee
not
carry.
another assassin already.
But we only got one.
I know.
Bring
but
us a new shaper. Bring us a new shaper. Welcome to the shaper dance.
No, I
Oh
don't.
god, no, you're banned.
Why?
Um,
They asked for the shaper dance, man.
Let's. It won't be a tank because they just pull one out. It won't be a bruiser because there's 3 of
A
them.
lot of users.
It
I
won't
think
be a
Burstcaster,
ranged
man.
Carry. You think Burstcaster?
Yeah, because
I would be
Amber
okay with
and
that.
Fenmore. That's really. I mean, in Fenmore, I wouldn't even consider Burst. He's like Vladimir.
know what?
I'd like to see another support, melee support with heals.
That's what Amber's saying. She'd like a support. I mean, she plays that.
Support with heals, no shields, no like
No
fake
shield.
heals. Even like a rejuvenate, increased HP regen aura, like. give
Well,
me
I mean,
some
let's lay it down,
heals.
right? So Reyna came out, and they were like, okay, so Desecrator's like really high CC, Kel's like in-your-face killing tank, Reyna's like a new style of tank.
Reyna's
So-
the you don't die tank.
Right, so if we're gonna go with the support, Dibs is what? Dibs is a very harass-heavy support.
Zeri is pretty harass heavy.
I mean,
But
she's
Zeri's more about
But a-
buffing.
Yeah, Zeri's power comes at like if you run the
And
math
debuffing.
on her butterfly at her ultimate and just like go home and cry. So let's, I guess no support heals other than Zeri's fake heal,
And Dib's fake shield, which
and both of them
mitigates
have really kind of low CC. But maybe it's
Yeah.
because the tanks have CC.
I don't
So,
know,
like-
but we've seen what 2 melees in a row. It was Petrus and then Reyna and Kendra, so more likely than not we get something ranged. In
So
my
your guess
opinion.
is ranged support. That's
I don't
your
think
guess?
it's gonna be a ranged support. I don't
You
think.
think
I think we're gonna see a melee support in like 2 to 3 releases. But I think this next one will be like a mage, a ranged mage. I think we've got plenty of physical range carries, sort of like it's.
Well, if it is a mage, and if we go back to the school of thought with how Reyna was released, Fenmore is a sustained mage, Amaranth is a burst mage, so what's in the middle? Like Joe Blow, your
just, like,
average mage.
casting mage. Well, they
She's
can
got
put
some spells.
They can put
She's
some
got
fun
some
stuff in
spells.
it.
There could be well, I guess, I don't know. There's not a whole lot of like AOE spells in this game. Like, I
true.
mean, like what's his name's is a lot. Fenmore's is a line, and his ult is kind of an AOE, but like, there's no kind of like brand. Big W, column of fire. There's no
That's a good
Anivia.
point.
You know what I mean? I
That's a
want
really
to
good
see
point.
that
Right.
that mage who stands in the back and just like artillery fire, dropping meteors on
Like
people.
a Tibbers or a Cassiopeia.
Or
Yeah,
if
I
we
want,
got
I want
like,
that kind of burst
I'm
mage.
down.
I want
I'm down.
area of effect
You've
damage.
got me sold. That's what
Right?
I want. I want an AOE.
Right?
I mean, people are saying in before Heimerdinger, but if I got something with tournament, not tournaments,
Beepo
turrets,
Dinger.
if I got some,
Depot Dinger.
if you controlled all the turrets at once and you sat around, but no, turrets would get me hot and flustered. I would love turrets.
They
Turrets and
said
hooks.
Gassy wanted to do a shaper that would have multiple
I
stuff.
think we talked about this last week. Multi-unit control, like that is my dream. Like,
I don't give a shit. I don't give a
Don't make
shit.
me
about
micro.
multi-unit
no, you
Oh,
don't have
God.
to micro. You don't have to click it. They're just gonna be like more mechanics and more ways to play characters that fit more playstyles. Like that's That's fun.
I guess it's just it's really hard for you to sell that to me and not make it sound clunky. Like,
what else to be clunky about it?
Because you had to switch from guy to guy. So when I'm not using one of my guys, the other guy's going to be doing something. It just doesn't seem as fluid as like something like really cool. Like,
what if you like plug in 2 mouses and then somehow they set it up so you can ambidex your 2 mouses? And
well, no, because then was it Siamese twins? Wherever the twins where 2 people are connected, they'd have a natural advantage of the game. That'd be overpowered. So that won't happen.
Sit down, have 2 people playing.
Hey, your husband and wife combo would hit the top of the ELO chart. Everyone would complain.
Okay, so obviously that's not an actual solution, but so you would want no more than 2 or no more than 3, or?
I'm just not interested in that type of champion.
I think it sounds adorable. Okay, what if it's like 1 and it orbits the other one and your abilities come off the
What?
And then you press 1 button and you switch places and the other guy orbits you?
Hey, I'm super excited for stuff like that. Stuff like Oriana and stuff like
not Oriana. I'm talking like full on like.
Hey, that's what I'm talking about.
I'm talking like three dibs that like walk in a circle, like parading around each other.
Oh my!
And you stance your pouchlings.
I like more complicated from a single use perspective.
Stance your pouchlings.
Stances would be okay. Raiders
like the dibs, the den mother of the Kula Heli Tangle.
Oh, the den mother.
She can throw blueberry patches all over.
The den mother. That is the most badass sounding name you could ever envision.
Just tiny dibses running around.
All I envision is like a Maokai sort of thing that like throws exploding pouchlings at people.
Oh god, poor pouchlings, they'll be murdered.
Exploding into a pile of blueberries.
Whew.
All right.
So that's our weekly what if section.
Yeah,
that'd be some lore interaction right there.
Some lore interaction.
Speaking of lore, how cool was it that every time you ping, with every different ping, there's a different emote based on which shaper you're playing?
I think we talked about it briefly that we didn't like it, but we did like it. Remember? No, you were here and we talked about it. You were like, I thought you said no. You were emotionally overwhelmed by the chat. I thought you were saying you were emotionally overwhelmed by hearing it. No, yeah, I thought that was awesome.
Okay, cool.
The little audio cue was formed.
I think it's super awesome.
I'm mostly out of my what ifs and hypes and theory crafting, so maybe we can do QA for a bit.
Yes, I'm gonna take my 30-foot cable over here to Amber's computer and read the chat.
Tetra is Quadra. Also, yes, the III Amazon Warrior Nissa Tetra kill is pretty fun. That's why Tetris blocks are made out of 4 individual pieces into an arrangement of different shapes.
Wah wah.
Wah wah. There's
Pikmin, that'd be neat.
No cues going on.
That's okay. Lots of LOLs.
All of the lols.
All the lols.
Congratulations on just shy of 20,000 views on your channel, by the way.
Is that an actual number?
I mean,
no, that's like
it's not a fake number.
But it's us like watching multiple times too, right? Like every time the same person, like it counts that, doesn't it?
Yeah, but we've only had 12 episodes. Are you like watching it 30 or 40 times in between?
No,
I bet you
I'm not even that vain.
Bet you are.
I think most of us already ate McDicks today. Like Randy and John already went in and got McDicks, I think.
Yeah, I picked up Amber.
McDicks.
Yeah. I actually got off work a little early today because I finished up a little early, so I went and grabbed McDonald's and tried to play Final Fantasy, but couldn't.
I might go out on a Dick's run.
Yeah, and you go McDonald's after, so.
Yeah, you could.
I'll be honest. Wait,
you could go get Dick's and then get McDonald's.
Is this some Nestle dibs? There was like Crunch dibs, weren't there? Like those were my nut.
Oh.
Let me find a picture of them because those.
I don't know if I like that word. It's.
These were the best dibs in a. I'll like add this to the stream.
Sorry, Amber.
Add window.
So you guys both going to be around all of next beta test next weekend?
I'm working all day Friday, but I'm off on Saturday, so I'll be around all day Saturday.
Cool. Are we
doing some streaming?
Baby Cat, what's that word you say when we're like done?
For a preach.
Preaching?
Yeah, I think now would be a good time to do that.
Yeah, this
So
is the
for-
Repreach. This is the best dibs of NA. Let's just put it over on John's picture.
Yeah, I remember that.
Nice. Yeah, that works.
All right. Well, with me half covered up and John half covered up, we're gonna go ahead and Repreach into the after show. So for those of you who are just here for the main show, thank you so much for watching and coming back for the Return to Money Pigs podcast. This concludes episode 12. Thanks for watching, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.